Because our bodies change, especially in perimenopause, you get that things that used to work for you in maintaining your health and your body image don't work anymore. It's like your body gives you a big old F you.
Yeah.
So how to be comfortable in your body, what does that mean to me? As you can tell, it's something that as a therapist, I work with one way, and as a woman, I work with another way.
Right. Right.
And as a therapist, I try to be where my feet are. I heard that saying once, where just notice what's happening in the moment. You don't have to judge it.
Mhm.
It's just there. Your body is giving you information.
Mhm. Mhm.
So kind of try to be open to that, even though you are angry about your body rebelling on you or what feels
Mhm.
like rebellion.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Lived Experience podcast. I'm Dr. Tamia Ryan, and today I am joined by Kim Long, a psychologist whose approach to therapy is refreshingly human and deeply compassionate. She grew up as a self disclaimed base brat, a military kid who lived overseas. She learned early on that if we could stop judging everyone through our own personal lens, we might discover how genuinely cool people really are. Her parents taught her to be an ambassador by seeing people as they are and recognizing that they all are deserving of acceptance and compassion. Kim has her own practice, Dochas, yes, and she's the founder of her own practice. And when you sit with her, you don't get the just typical TV therapist version. You get a real human who's been through life's mess, and she's always there and available to connect with her patients. And today we are unpacking the topic of perimenopause. And that
Yeah.
is our focus today. It's a topic that probably doesn't get a lot of education on it. So I'm glad to bring it to the forefront. And thank you so much, Kim, for being here today.
Thank you. And I'm going to take you around with me in my pocket because that was like one of the best introductions. I'm like, that's me? What? Huh?
Always try to give people their flowers. I'm like, like
Oh, that's beautiful.
let's show like what people are doing and what people are bringing to the world. So I am so grateful
Oh,
to have you here today.
I'm just going to listen to that on repeat once it's like, look at me go.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
perimenopause though, I'm so happy that it seems to be finally picking up some steam, mainly in social media, but man, like it's a journey. I don't
Yes. Yes. And we don't really talk about it because I think there's still just a lot of shame about our bodies changing as women,
hmm
right? And like the identity shifting. And so it's kind of like this cloak and dagger, like, okay, we don't talk about that.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to have you on to talk to people who are either going through perimenopause or who may be approaching it or just want to know more information or want to know how they might support someone who is going through perimenopause. And
Yeah.
like kind of just getting right into it, can you tell us a little bit about, what exactly is perimenopause?
So, I need to qualify a few things right off the bat. First of all, I
Hmm.
can't say that I am an expert in perimenopause. I've been doing a lot of deep diving into perimenopause and identity because of my own personal journey with perimenopause right
Yes.
now and how it
Hmm.
feels like I'm losing my mind.
Yes.
Um, and I'm not a doctor per se, so I don't have like I'm not into the physical health aspect as much as I am into the mental
Right.
health. But
Yes.
what I have learned
Hmm.
is, and I didn't know this, so perimenopause, you aren't in menopause until you haven't had your period for a year.
Okay.
So even if you have your period a week before that year is up, you're still in perimenopause. And perimenopause can start mid 30s and it can be 10 or more years of this crap.
Yeah, let's call it what it is. It's a long ride.
Oh, and the changes can be so subtle at first, that it I almost think of it like, what's that analogy where you put the lobster in the water when it's cold and you slowly heat it and it doesn't
Hmm.
know what's happening to it.
Right,
That's what I think of as my experience with perimenopause anyway. It was like there were changes happening, but I could brush them off as something else.
right. Hmm.
And then it was like I fell off the cliff. So, but in terms of the definition of perimenopause, it's my understanding that it's that period of time when our hormones start changing, and going really wonky.
Hmm.
And see, this is non-clinical, but they start going really wonky, and we are entering kind of that last phase of adulthood, and we are stopping being that reproductive source.
Thank you for that. And you know, what you mentioned early on about the emotional aspect, that's so important because I think what we hear a lot is just the physical stuff, right? Oh, you don't
Yeah.
have your period anymore, and you might be moody, maybe, and
Mm-hmm.
hey, it's just the change of life, right? And we don't really get into like how our mind, body, and emotions are all connected. And so, in your experience, and even just working with others, what are some of the emotional and psychological
Mm.
symptoms that women experience that are going through perimenopause?
So, I mean, like you said, there's the ones that we typically talk about, right? Like, they feel like their body isn't their own because of the hot flashes, their mood fluctuations, like anxiety. There's a lot of anxiety, depression, um, a sense of not really knowing who they are. But I recently had an experience with my own doctor where I went to her, and I'm luckily I see a doctor who is really informed about women's health. And
Hmm.
I was saying, like, what can I do about the brain fog and the fatigue?
Hmm.
Because we're not sleeping as well, which affects our ability to manage everything.
Hmm.
We're either waking early or waking multiple times in the night. And so I was asking her, what can I do about this? And, or what's going on there? And so I'd come to her with a solution, and she had said, well, I need to find a medical journal that supports this as a solution, but most of them focus on perimenopause and depression, or perimenopause and anxiety, not the brain fog. And I said, well, do you think maybe the depression comes because we can't function anymore? Like, why aren't there more studies about the brain fog or the tingling that you can feel? Like, I have traveling numbness in my body. Like,
Hmm.
you really start to feel like, and I hear this from a lot of women that I see, that your body is no longer your own and you no longer know who you are. Like,
Right.
everything that you used to pride yourself on, your intelligence, your work ethic, being able to handle and juggle so many different things,
Hmm.
that dissipates.
It's a
And
disconnect. Yeah.
oh, and it's frightening. It is
Yeah.
frightening because you don't know when or if you're ever going to get it back.
And I like your analogy of it really being like this slow boiling point. It's like you start noticing, and that's what happens like as our bodies change. We start noticing little
Mm-hmm.
changes, we kind of brush it off, and then one day it just hits us and we're like, "Wait. I'm not the same person that I
Yeah.
was." And I'm so thankful that you have a wonderful doctor because we know that
Yes,
that's not
I'm.
always everyone's
Mm-hmm.
experience. Can you speak a little bit about how women can advocate for themselves in medical settings or whether in mental health settings? Because I think there is this dismissal sometimes that happens, like in, medical or mental health of like, this is just a change, right? This is going to happen. It happens to everyone. Here's a pamphlet. I mean, so how how can women really
So true. Oh, take
it's
this
so
pamphlet.
true.
It'll make everything better.
I'm like, I could have went to Chat GPT and got this. Thank you. But
Yes.
I just want to know, like, a little bit more. How can women like really empower themselves and advocate for themselves
Mm,
in this space?
yeah, the thing that there's two things. So the first thing I'll start with is um, even though your body is rebelling on you and your mind is rebelling on you,
Hmm.
trust yourself. You know something's wrong. Be a dog with a bone. Don't
Hmm.
let them brush you off. We're used to seeing doctors in particular as the be all end all that they know. We need to
Hmm.
remember that they are humans as well, and they're doing the best they can at putting the puzzle together for us.
Right.
And they're often trained in a medical model that is based on male research. So it's not they're trying, but you know yourself, trust yourself, and don't be afraid to not let it go.
Right.
But the next thing is yay for the internet. I can't believe this is like the one time that I'm gonna be like,
Yes.
yay, internet. I'm not saying go to Dr. Google, but do things
Right.
like add on site colon period edu, and that will bring you to educational websites. You have to educate yourself. You
Right.
you have to go in prepared so that when someone says something that you're like, are you brushing me off here? You can come
Hmm.
back at them and say, hang on, but what about this?
Hmm.
Because they're more likely to listen to you if you're sounding like you're coming in informed. Which
Yes.
it, I mean, I didn't go to school to be a medical doctor. I don't. Science and I, not, it's too
Hmm.
mathy. But,
Yeah.
but,
Too much.
but the thing that has really stood out to me is I've learned I have to do that because the doctors don't entirely know either when it comes to
Yeah.
perimenopause. I
Hmm.
had a neurologist, so with the traveling numbness, they actually were checking me for MS, and
Wow.
so, which freaked me out. But
Hmm.
the neurologist, I said to him, could it be perimenopause? Like I didn't know that this was a symptom, but could it be? He asked me my age, which at the time was 49, and then he says, "You're too young for perimenopause."
I don't think so.
Puh, okay, so I'm going to let you stay in your lane and I'm going to go do more research, but thanks. Thanks for telling me I don't have MS. I appreciate that.
Hmm.
So, yeah.
So there was like the lack of education that was on his end, and so that can be frustrating, especially like if you've done the work, you've done the background information, and you're talking to someone and they're like, nope, that's not it, and they brush you
Yeah.
off. And that's when I always advocate for anyone to say like, hey, get a second opinion, go
Yes. If you can.
if you can't,
Yeah.
that's always something that you can try to explore as well. But sometimes it also just comes from, like you said, educating yourself, because
Yeah.
they may not know, they may not have all the information,
Yeah.
and
There's some
connect.
great research coming out of Europe right now.
Okay.
There's actually a doctor, and I don't remember her name because, yay, perimenopause. I do, might be a lot of that in this podcast. But there's been, I think it's fMRIs done on the female brain and what's happening pre-perimenopause, perimenopause, and post-perimenopause, and it's showing that our brain is actually completely rebuilding itself, like completely
Mm.
rewiring. And so, I mean, unfortunately, or fortunately, it seems like there's a lot of great awareness coming out of Europe. So don't be afraid to look at research coming out of there and bringing that to your doctor because they can always verify it with maybe some studies they can find in North America. And I
Right.
don't know, I don't totally know the medical model of the States. I do know here, and I'm in Alberta, Canada, and
Mhm.
I think this is Canada wide right now. There's a shortage of doctors. So to try to get that second opinion can be challenging. Um, and yet again, it's that dog with a bone idea. Don't give up. Like,
Right.
and if you're struggling with, I don't have the energy to keep fighting this, um, enlist friends. There are going to be other females going through this with you who might have the energy that day to help you fight.
that have been through the journey themselves,
Yes.
you know.
Have you started that journey or?
So I'm
Okay.
44, so I
Okay.
definitely am on that on that conveyor belt for sure.
Yeah.
And so I know just even changes of just not having the energy that I used to have, and just sometimes it feeling like, okay, it's a little bit harder today to like get myself going, I'm always been a free spirit and sort I'm a Gemini, so we have all
Yeah.
layers of they
Yeah.
say we're emotional, but I don't know. But yeah, you just pick up on, wow, like I feel really sensitive today. Like, like
Yeah.
why do I feel so sensitive today? And just you pick up on it. You notice like the changes and the differences. And I think for me, definitely have like a circle of friends and other women who are also on this sort of conveyor belt, but then even like my mom and like my aunts, who have already went through
Mm.
menopause or in menopause, and having a really good doctor who's really well informed has been helpful, to talk
Yeah. Yeah.
some of those challenges that we're going to face. But preparing,
Yeah.
I always feel like if we can prepare ourselves,
Hmm.
then it's not as scary. It's still going to suck and feel like, wait,
Yes.
what's happening? But
Yeah. Yeah.
I am, the better I
Yeah.
can be, to really navigate through it. And I've been trying to be more aware of just like how my body feels and not ignoring it, because I think we get so good at just like ignoring things and just
Yep.
saying, well, this is it. But like really
Yeah.
tapping into like, okay, I need to make some changes. Like there's some things that I can do also that can make myself feel better, right? Like I don't have to let this take over,
Hmm.
my life.
Yeah. And I think that that's an amazing point that you bring up is that yes, perimenopause sucks. I am not going to sit here and say that it doesn't. Um, I'm very frustrated about it on the daily. And it's also helped me tune into myself more. Like I
Yes.
would say if there's a gift of perimenopause and menopause, it makes us more aware of our bodies. It
Hmm.
makes us not dismiss our emotions because I think often I know for myself there's been more than one time where I've been told, "Oh, you're being too emotional.
Yeah.
You're too this and it's cuz you're a girl." You know what? Suck
Oh
it.
yeah.
I actually
Yeah.
my emotions are valid and
Hmm.
even through perimenopause, just because I'm more emotional, it doesn't mean that those emotions are invalid.
Exactly.
You
Right.
know, so this journey has really helped me so far because I'm still in it. Yay. Um,
Hmm.
this journey has really helped me so far learn to be sometimes more gracious to myself and
Yes.
really listen to myself. So that is, it can be the gift of perimenopause, is that.
Yes. And I think, I love how you are sharing this perspective because, sometimes we go through challenges, or we go through different experiences, things happen to us, and, it does awaken us to take in more self-care, to be more intentional about how we are taking care of ourselves. And it is one of those like unintended consequences. It's like, okay, you know what? I don't have the energy. I don't have the space for that in my life anymore. You know what? I'm not going to allow like toxic people to consume
Yes.
my time because I just don't have the space anymore that I used to. I used to be able to take all of that on. I can't do you
Yeah.
no more. Sorry, it's too
It's
much.
so true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it does allow you to really set those boundaries once you're able to get comfortable with it. So I love
Hmm.
your spin on that. For those who are listening, because we talk a lot, and this has like been social media buzz, embracing our bodies and getting in touch with
Hmm.
our bodies. What does that really mean? Can you break that down a little bit? What does that mean to you?
Hmm. Because our bodies change, especially in perimenopause, you get that um, things that used to work for you in maintaining your health and your body image don't work anymore. It's like your body gives you a
Hmm.
big old F you.
Yeah.
So, how to be comfortable in your body? what does that mean to me? As you can tell, it's something that as a therapist, I work with one way, and as a woman, I work with another way.
Right, right.
And as a therapist, I try to be where my feet are. I heard that saying once, where just notice what's happening in the moment. You don't have to judge it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just there. Your body is giving you information.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So kind of try to be open to that. Even though you are angry about your body rebelling on you or what feels
Mm-hmm.
like rebellion,
Right.
right? And I'm not sure that I'm answering your question. So
No, you are because what you're saying is there's going to be this conflict that you
yeah,
feel with yourself where like you said it feels like rebellion. I think that's like a perfect description of that. It's like your body that you've known for so long is now turning on you. It's now acting in a way it doesn't look the way that
yeah,
you look, I mean some of us may still look, the way we looked 25 years ago. I know I don't. You know what I mean? I definitely don't feel the way I did 25 years ago.
no,
Does that mean that I'm still not of value? Does that mean that, you know, so yes, I love what you're saying about like that conflict that happens within,
yeah,
but from conflict is born so many great things. Sometimes we have to have that conflict to really see and evolve and become and who we're becoming, embrace who
yeah.
we're becoming.
Yeah, I mean, really, that's the mother of invention, right? Is when we're
Mhm.
faced with a conflict and we have to be creative. I
Mhm.
heard this great phrase, which helped me understand acceptance, because I don't believe that acceptance means forgiveness or being okay with it. And it just basically says before you can change the flat tire, you have to accept that you have a flat tire.
Right.
So before we can empower ourselves to move forward and not stay stuck, we
Mhm.
have to accept that these changes are happening and that it doesn't mean, and I love that you said this, it does
Yes.
not mean that we no longer have value.
Mhm.
We still have wisdom. Like that's also a difference between or it can be a difference between North American culture and European, Asian, Mediterranean,
Mhm.
other cultures because or even South American cultures because females that age in other cultures can be viewed as having such wisdom because of
Right.
everything that they've been through, which you spoke about by contacting your mom and your aunties, right?
Mhm.
So it's not that we no longer have value. We have so much more wisdom, and also because I think it helps us drop a lot of the facades that we've carried in our youth
Mhm. Yeah.
because like you said we don't have the energy anymore, so you want to
Right.
know what we think, we're going to tell you what we think.
Mhm.
So there we still have so much value even though we might not be able to work as much, even though we might not be able to show up for our kids or our spouses in the way we want to, even
Mhm.
though we might not be able to connect with our friends, we
Mhm.
still have value and
Yes.
almost more value now,
Mhm. Because
you
we've lived
know.
it. We've lived
We've
it and we can pass it on and that going back again to the concept of community of paying it
Yes.
forward. And I always talk about like our stories have this threefold purpose of healing, inspiration, and connection. And so just as you're sharing your story, there's someone going to be watching today who's like, okay, she's giving me permission, not that they already didn't already have it, but they feel like they now have
Yes.
permission to really embrace the new journey that they're on. And so
And to
I
struggle with it.
and the struggle with it, yeah, like it's not gonna all be fun at
You
all.
don't have to handle this beautifully or have everything in place and managed. You don't have to do that.
Right.
I do want to ask you a question though, if you don't mind, and
Yeah.
feel free to be like, I don't want to talk about that.
Yeah.
Um, I am curious because you said you accessed your mom and your aunties. I'm wondering if you can speak to the difference in that for someone who maybe doesn't have access to those resources. So, for example, I don't have a close relationship with my aunties because I'm a military kid, so we always lived so far away. And my parents have both passed, so I don't have my mom to access about
Mm-hmm.
this.
Yep.
So what is that journey like to have the kind of those people to go to? Does it
Yeah. Yeah.
help? Does it not? Like what?
Well, I found it helpful for me, but I also think generationally it's different, right? Because we're talking about generations again where
Mm,
the topic wasn't even really talked about, right? It was just
mm-hmm.
kind of like, hey, this is what's happening in your life, and you move on through it. But I think, and I'll speak about more so my mom because I've had more, I would say, intimate conversations with my mom, and just remembering her like going through,
Yeah.
the change, when I was younger, and her talking about it. But I think she just really validated a lot for me, as as your body changes, as you change. She just validated a lot for me and helped me to understand that this can also really be a great time in your life.
Mm,
Not
mm-hmm.
replacing it, not like the toxic positivity, like, oh, everything's going to be fine. But I think it was just more of a validation of,
Yeah.
yeah, there's going to be some days that are really hard, and some days you're going to feel like, you're going to question yourself. You're going to think like, did I handle that right? Or why didn't I
Yeah.
respond the way that I used to? And I think for me, it was just like the validation part. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that you can get, whether even if you don't have a close family member,
Yeah.
that's that community part, like the support group part. Like that's the part you can get just from people who have lived through it, who have
Yeah.
experienced it, who may be a little bit further along on the conveyor belt, um, to
Yeah.
help you, just to validate it. Because for me, a lot of
Yeah.
it is just like when you start noticing changes with yourself. Like for me, it was just kind of like the energy, because I always had been
Yes.
like a person who just like I would get up and go. I can tell you one thing that like I've noticed that's different with me is like driving. Like I used to drive everywhere, and I still do drive everywhere, but like now like I have less tolerance. I'm like, okay, it's a bunch of traffic. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go this
Yeah.
way. Where I was like a road hog. I mean, I would drive, I would get on the road from Ohio to drive like Atlanta straight, like get off
Yeah.
work, go see my friends. So like I just noticed having a little bit more like pause about like driving. I'm like, oh, you know what? I think I'm just gonna go this way. Like I don't really want to deal with all of that today.
Yes.
And it was just like a small change that I noticed, because I just like have less tolerance, and it's like, I don't want the anxiety of like having to fight all that traffic. I'm just gonna do this, you know what I mean?
Yes.
So it's just little things you start picking up, that you
Yeah.
notice are changes. So for me, it was just a validation. Yeah, just
Yeah.
getting the validation from someone that I trusted.
Yeah.
And I think
Yes.
that's a big part, like the trust piece, being able to find someone, even if it's not a family member, but finding someone within the community that you can trust, that you can be open with. Because
Mm-hmm.
if you can't, this is one of those things you got to share. You got to be like,
Yes.
you can't just give like the little vague. You got to real talk it, because that's how you're going to get the support.
Absolutely. And I mean, that validation piece brings me back to kind of my mantra of
Hmm.
loving and accepting people for whatever moment they find themselves in. Because if we
Yeah.
have that, then there
Hmm.
is that freedom. We're able to hold space for each other
Hmm.
to have whatever experience we're having, because it's not going to be the same as everybody
Right.
else's, right?
Yes.
So, I mean, and to not feel bad, like just because your friend might be going through something horrible. Our bodies don't distinguish between, like, I have a friend of mine who I adore, and she's always had chronic health issues.
Hmm.
My body experiences the fear and the concern and all that stuff the same way hers does, even though it's about different issues. So you can't
Hmm.
compare.
Hmm.
It feels, the emotions you feel are equally icky. So don't dismiss your
Hmm.
experience of it just because you think someone else's is worse. It's
Right.
all it's all not great.
Hmm.
And it just makes it easier, like you said, to feel that validation.
Yes.
and accept it in and not think that they're just blowing smoke to you, right?
Yeah, and just patting you on the head and saying, "Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
know." Yeah, I mean, and I think with social media, and I always talk about this of it being a blessing and a curse, we get caught up in like the comparison, even, like commercials, they show somebody, on a jet ski and they're like living life, and you're like, okay, am I
Yeah.
supposed to be feeling like this?
Yeah. I was excited to get out of bed today, and you're wanting me to be on a jet ski?
I took a bath, okay? Like
Yeah.
that was
High five.
I got up, I took a bath, I did what I needed to do. Like that took
I didn't throat punch
me.
someone today. I'm doing great. Like,
Exactly. And we get into this comparison of like what everybody should look like or how everybody should feel. And so that's just the representative, it's like we all have our representative we put on when we're trying to, show everybody, hey, we feel great, nothing's wrong.
oh
Um,
yeah. Why do we
you
do
know,
that to ourselves? I
it's so
think I
much
think it's a
energy.
vulnerability piece, but it does.
Hmm.
It takes so much energy to pretend that everything's okay. And there's
Yeah.
times when we need to, like if you're by people that you don't trust or feel
Yes.
safe with.
Hmm.
However, the decision fatigue, like you were talking about the driving, when you
Hmm.
think about how many little decisions go into driving,
Yeah.
by the time you even get in the car, you're exhausted because
Yes.
we only have so many energy reserves right now to be making
Yeah.
decisions. Like I come home at the end of the day and my partner will say, "What do you want for dinner?" And I'll feel like just shoving him. Like, do not make me make another decision. I can't. And
Yeah.
that's confusing. Like one of the things that you mentioned earlier was, how do we explain it to those that surround us that
Hmm.
are having to support us through it?
Right.
Like my guy is not going to understand my experience. He
Exactly.
tries. Lord
Hmm.
love him, he tries. There are not words
To say.
sufficient enough to explain some of what we experience. And
Yeah.
that can feel very lonely when the
Hmm.
person you are sharing your life with, including your kids,
Yeah.
just don't get it because they are not used to this version of you.
Hmm.
So it's really hard. And I mean, I just briefly, I went for a quick search on what are the symptoms of menopause, and I found this website, My Menopause Center from England,
Hmm.
and there's 34 symptoms of menopause.
Yeah.
34. You think that's gonna make you not seem like you?
Right.
So trying to explain it to people who can't hopefully don't ever experience that
Hmm.
pervasive weariness in your bones or the aching, like you feel like you're 80 at times and they're going, what's wrong with you? And it
Yeah.
gets old saying perimenopause because
Right.
then it feels like an excuse,
And
but it's
people
the
just want to
truth.
fix it. Yeah, people just like,
Yes,
our
yes.
loved ones, they just want to,
Thank you.
like, if I
Yes,
tell my husband something's wrong, he's just like, okay, well, how can I fix it? Like, and that's out of care. Like, people just want to fix it. They
yes.
want to stop whatever it is, right? That's bothering you. And so, like, just helping for me, it's just sometimes like just listening. Like, if I'm going through something, like, hey, just being a person, I can listen, I can just
Hmm.
talk through it and process it, because there is not a quick fix, really to most things. Um, so I
That's
think
so true.
that has been helpful.
And it speaks to the process of grief, right?
Yes.
Like there
Hmm.
is a grieving that comes along with it, a grieving of the changes to our bodies, a grieving of, you talked about that treadmill of
Hmm.
life, right? Or
Yeah.
the conveyor belt of life,
Hmm.
that really it's an indicator that we're starting that next phase where we're closer to the end than the beginning. So there's
Hmm.
grieving there. There's grieving of the changes of relationships and our identities and all of that. And grief, we don't ever stop missing the person or who we were. So the grieving doesn't necessarily ever go away, but the way you support someone who is grieving is by letting them tell the story over and over and over and over again till they can make sense of it.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
It's having the patience and just holding space. You don't have to fix anything. You just
Mm-hmm.
have to be there and be present and not on your phone while they're telling you for the umpteenth time about,
Yeah.
oh, I found hair in a place that I wasn't supposed to find hair. Right?
Yeah.
Like it's 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 that patience. That's how people that are living with someone who's going through perimenopause can
Yeah.
support them the best, I think, is helping with the grief of it.
Yeah. And the slow transition, right? And the fear of the unexpected. Because as you start going through
Yes.
things, you're like, okay, what's next? What's going to happen now? And
Yeah.
so helping to
And when?
support and when, yes, and when. Um, I want to definitely give space. Thank you so much for this conversation and talking about this
Yeah.
topic and sharing of yourself as well, and just putting it out there because that's not easy
Yeah. Well,
to.
same for you. I appreciate you sharing
Oh,
your journey. Yeah.
as we wrap up, before we get into sort of the closing remarks, can you share with people how they can connect with you? And I know that you work with individuals who are also experiencing trauma, you help individuals through life transitions. Can you speak a little bit about the work that you do?
Sure. So I'm a licensed psychologist in the province of Alberta. So my clientele has to come from Alberta. But we do a lot of mentorship in our clinic, and anybody who has questions, you're more than welcome to reach out. You can reach me through probably our main email, which is info@dochas, DOCHAS, psych.com. Our website is dochaspsych.com as well. Um, and I'm so lucky to work with an amazing team that we just want to support people with whatever they're going through. So if you have any questions, just reach out. We have blogs and a newsletter, and we're on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. Where else are we? I
Everywhere.
haven't. Yeah, I'm an everywhere man. I we just try to. We also have an app, the Life Jacket app, which is free, and it's designed to help people rather than having to do it daily. It's in those moments where you can't remember how to use your strategies to help, and so you just use the app in those moments where your brain is not working so well for you to help guide you through whatever's going on. So, yeah, that's kind of what we have going on, and that's probably how to best reach us is through email or our website, which has the contact us page. But we just want to help you. That's what's that's the deal.
We'll have all the information down in the podcast
Yeah,
description so folks can find you. And I want to leave you with a question. I'm going to make this more general, not just specific to
sure.
perimenopause, because I know that
Great.
there's all sorts of individuals watching and going through different transitions. But
Hmm.
what's one thing that you would share with people who are going through a transition stage in their life and who they're becoming? What's one bit of guidance that you would want to leave those folks with?
Hmm. Um, find the hope. Like there's let me change that.
Hmm.
My brain is now squirreling down and doing the deep dive.
Yeah.
I believe when you can find your purpose and meaning, like just
Hmm.
individual to you, what who you are, your core values, that stuff doesn't always change. And not who other people tell you to be, but who you are, and try to live life according to those values. Because Viktor Frankl, in his book Man's Search for Meaning, um, he talks about one of the last freedoms that we have as people is to choose for ourselves who we are. Nobody can take that away from us unless we let them. And that's where the hope comes in, is because then we always have choice. We're always
Hmm.
in control. You just have to keep going.
Hmm.
And that when when it gets the hardest, that usually means you're this close to reaching your goal.
Yeah.
It's always hardest right before you get to where you're going. So don't give up.
Mm-hmm.
Don't give up. Be
Yes.
true to who you are. Listen to who you are, your body, your emotions, your brain. It's going to tell you. Listen and remember that you are wonderful just as you are.
Love
So
it.
that's what I would say is just keep going.
Mm-hmm.
It
I
gets
love it.
better.
It gets better. There is hope at the other side, on the other side. And
Yes.
thank you so much for that
Yeah.
information. I'm definitely going to take this information and use it in my life. And I hope and I know that my listeners are going to do the same as well. And
Thank you.
again, these are strategies you can apply really as you go through any life transition and
Yes.
changes. Um, so I appreciate the value that you brought today. Love to have you back
Yeah.
on because I know you have a lot of other stuff that you could talk about.
Yeah. I
But
love talking to you. You're fun. Like you're
you're fun
just
too.
I just I love the sass. I want to bring out that sass a bit more in you. I can tell it's there.
It is. It's bubbling up, you know.
Awesome.
Um, but thank you so much for the time you taken out today, and we'll see you back at our next episode, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.